She wasn't alone in that room. Someone inside the wall was watching. They say New York apartments are small, but nobody tells you they can feel alive, or worse, like someone else is living in them with you. When Emily first moved into her tiny fifth-floor walk-up in the Lower East Side, she thought the weird noises were just part of the building's charm. Pipes rattling, walls settling, neighbors yelling through too thin plaster, classic New York starter apartment life. But within her first week, she started hearing something else. Something that didn't fit the usual city soundtrack. It started the night she was unpacking. The air felt unusually cold, like she'd left a window open. She checked. Everything was shut tight, but the chill lingered, settling against her skin in a way that didn't feel natural. She laughed it off, telling herself the place just needed time to warm up. But then she heard it, a soft, delicate sound. Not a pipe, not a neighbor. It was breathing, slow, steady, too controlled to be accidental. She froze, hand still gripping a box of winter clothes, her whole body listening. The sound was coming from inside the wall, directly behind her bed. She pressed her ear to the peeling paint, and for a moment, there was nothing. Silence. Then, barely above a whisper, she heard it again. A faint exhale, like someone trying not to be heard. She jerked away from the wall so fast her shoulder hit the bed frame. She told herself the truth. Old buildings make weird noises. That's it. That's all it was. Still, she didn't sleep that night. The breathing got louder around 3 a.m., then suddenly stopped, leaving her staring into the dark until the sun came up. The next day at work, she told her co-worker Mark about it, expecting him to laugh. Instead, his face tightened. "What street did you say you live on?" When she told him, he let out a low whistle. "That building's old, like early 1900s old. Back before they updated, you know. Safety codes." She waited for him to finish, but he didn't. He just shrugged like the rest wasn't important. She let it go, but the unease stuck with her on the subway ride home. That night, the noises got worse. It wasn't breathing anymore. It was whispering, actual whispered words, too soft to understand but too clear to be her imagination. She sat up in bed, her heart beating so fast she could hear her pulse in her ears. The whispering felt like it was right behind her, almost as if someone was standing inches from her head, separated only by an inch of old plaster. She reached out and put her hand on the wall. It felt colder than the rest of the apartment, ice cold, like touching the inside of a freezer. A single thought pulsed through her mind. Someone is in there. She jerked her hand back and scrambled out of bed, grabbing her phone like a weapon. She locked herself in the bathroom and stayed there until sunrise, the lights on, sitting in the tub with her knees pulled to her chest, listening, waiting. The next morning, outraged and sleep-deprived, she marched downstairs and complained to the landlord. He didn't even pretend to care. He just shrugged and said, "Old buildings make sounds," before closing the office door in her face. She almost moved out right then. But rent in New York wasn't something people threw away lightly. She told herself she'd give it one more night. That evening, she tried everything: music, TV, leaving the lights on. But when the clock hit 2:47 a.m., the whispering started again. Only this time, it wasn't soft. It was desperate, panicked. A woman's voice, crying as she muttered words Emily still couldn't understand. She sat frozen in bed, clutching the bedsheet, unable to breathe. The crying grew louder, more frantic, echoing through the wall like whoever it was pressing her face right against the plaster. And then, clear as day, the woman spoke. "Please, let me out." Emily felt every hair on her body rise. She stumbled out of bed so quickly she tripped, slamming onto the hardwood floor. The voice repeated the words, sobbing now. "Let me out. Please, please." Emily crawled backward until her back hit the opposite wall. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. With shaking hands, she grabbed her phone and called a neighbor she'd met once, a girl named Jenna from across the hall. Jenna showed up half asleep and annoyed, but the moment she stepped into the bedroom, her expression changed. She hugged her arms around herself, shivering. "Jesus, why is it so cold in here?" Emily didn't say a word. She just pointed at the wall. They both waited, and then the voice returned, soft, sorrowful. "Help me." Jenna gasped and stumbled backward. Nope, I'm not doing this," she whispered, grabbing Emily's arm. "We're getting out." They spent the rest of the night in Jenna's apartment. Jenna told her the rumors she'd heard since moving in, that years ago a woman went missing in that building. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle, no body ever found, just gone. Some tenants claimed they heard her crying at night. Others swore they'd seen a pale figure in the hallway mirror that wasn't supposed to be there. But the eeriest rumor, the one that made Emily's blood run cold, was that the missing woman was never actually missing, that the building had hidden her. The next day, with Jenna by her side, Emily demanded the landlord let them inspect the wall. After hours of arguing, he finally agreed to bring in a contractor, probably just to get them off his back. When the contractor cut into the wall, Emily expected dirt, maybe mold, maybe old pipes. She didn't expect what she saw. A hollow space, narrow, dark, barely wide enough for a person to fit. A space that shouldn't have existed. Something hung inside it. An old piece of fabric, torn and brittle, like part of a dress. Long strands of hair clung to the splintered wood, and at the very bottom, meant to be hidden forever, was a woman's ring, old, rusted, engraved with the initials A.M. Emily's stomach dropped. That was the name of the missing tenant, Anna Morales. The landlord tried to cover it up immediately, insisting it was storage space from decades ago. But Emily knew. Jenna knew. And the contractor, who left the apartment pale and silent, knew too. Emily moved out that same night. No sleep, no hesitation. She didn't bother packing everything. She just grabbed what she could and left. And even now, months later, she swears she still hears the woman's voice sometimes, in dreams, in quiet places, in the silence of her new apartment where the walls don't breathe, or at least she prays they don't, because the last thing she heard before leaving that cursed room, whispered gently through the cracked plaster, was a voice saying, "You're not the last.